Hey everyone, so a few weeks ago I taught you how to magnetize the X-Man Galaxy version 2 Megaminx. That tutorial is still relevant and works fine, but I have my sister's X-Man Galaxy version 2 here, and I found out that different types of magnets will in fact work in here. So I thought I'd make this second video and give you some more tips on how to do it. So the magnets I'm using for this are 4x2mm N50 in the edges and 4x1mm N50 in the corners. You could fit a 4x3 or even a 4x4 in the edges, although it would be slightly harder to place at the correct angle. But if you use 3x1 magnets in the corners, a 4x3 or 4x4 might work better to strengthen it up in the edges. You're also going to need 60 magnets for the corners and 60 magnets for the edges, so 60 of each, 120 total. Even though I showed it in the last video, I still got comments asking how to take it apart, so I'll just go over that quickly. Specifically the edges, I use a razor blade to take out the piece and then just split it. And then once it's split a little bit, you can kind of get it in there and move it back and forth, and that will make it very easy to take apart. So for a bit of backstory, I used 3x1mm magnets in the corners on this first one. And there's a bit of extra room in there, so I thought 4x1mm magnets would fit. And then if you were there for my weekend live stream when I unboxed the 4x1mm magnets and started testing them in the second Megaminx, you'd know that they do fit in the corners, but I thought there was a problem at first, and there kind of is. When you just put the magnets in the two very obvious spots in the corners and the edges, they don't exactly line up. See, the center of the magnets want to pull towards the centers of the other magnets, and this means that the centers need to be sort of facing the same spot when the pieces line up together correctly, and this just didn't happen with the 4x1s in the corners. This is a piece with a 3x1mm magnet, and you can see it happens slightly here. Although, with the smaller and weaker magnets, it's not an issue when it's assembled. So I thought they just weren't going to work, and I was going to have to settle for weaker magnets, but you can actually place the magnets so they will work correctly. So you can see here on the edge that this magnet fits on this flat part of the inside of the edge almost snugly. There's not really much room for it to move around. And where the magnets fit in the corners, the center of the magnet needs to be slightly higher up on this edge piece. Now, this could be done by taking out some of the plastic that holds the bottom part of the edge piece in right here, but that would be a lot of work. So if you change it so that it's tilted slightly, the center of the magnet is facing upwards a little bit more, and it will fit with the corner well. It is a little hard to tell, but you can see that basically the corner of this holding area touches the magnet right there on the magnet's edge, and then over here you can see that the corner of the magnet is actually touching this edge over here, so it's at more of an angle instead of being just flat with the edge. So there is a little gap of space in between this flat part of the edge here and the magnet. So if you had a hard time seeing it in that video, I have a picture up on screen right now. The one on the left is how you need to place the magnets for the 4x1mm to work, and on the right is how I placed them in the first Megaminx. So to start magnetizing it, I would just add a generous clump of glue to where the magnet needs to go. And you're going to have to use a bit more glue than normal because there's not as much contact points between the magnet and the plastic, so it's going to need more to hold it in place. Then just place the magnet in the glue. This is where I'm going to use a toothpick to get the placement right. So you're just going to have to kind of guess, but you want basically the center of the magnet pointing just a little below this triangle of plastic right here. So it's just going to take a little bit of moving around. I would recommend using super glue gel. It's going to hold the magnet up once you put it into the super glue, and will give you a lot more workability to spread the glue out evenly, which you're going to need to do because, again, it's going to need as much contact with glue and plastic as possible. Then I would recommend letting this glue dry completely before doing any other magnets. And for the corners, it's a similar thing. You're just going to have to eyeball placement, although it's a little bit easier with the corners. So I've got a 4x1 magnet here, and a piece that has glue completely dried. I'm just going to place it on the outside so I know the correct polarity. And then I'm going to take glue and sort of fill the area where the magnet is going to be placed. Because there's not much extra room, it would be very hard to get glue in there after putting the magnet in, and this will help get as much glue on the contact points of the magnet as possible, because there's also less contact points between magnet and plastic on the corner as there is in a normal puzzle, so again, you're going to need more glue. Then once you know your polarities and have the glue in the edge, you can pull it off. And I'd recommend just remembering, like when I pull this off, the part of the magnet that needs to touch the other piece is touching my thumb right now. So then I can just put it in with that part down and start placing and spreading the glue. So these magnets can go kind of far back in and almost disappear in there like that. But that's not where you want the magnet, because that will be even harder for the edge to get up to, because the magnets are higher in the corners than in the edges. So what you want to do is pull it out and down like that, slightly less, so the magnet is sticking out about halfway. And then it will be a little bit further down and make it easier for it to align well with the magnet in the edge. And then again, after the placement, you want to get the glue spread out as much as possible. It is a bit easier to get extra glue in right about there, and then just kind of push it back. These toothpicks are extremely helpful. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. And just get a little bit. You want to be sure not to get glue on this edge of plastic right here or anywhere in here, because the pieces won't fit together when you go to assemble the cube, and you'll have to clean it off later, and it's much easier to clean off super glue when it's wet than when it's dried onto the plastic. And then you just continue that for all of the magnets. So I definitely know the feeling of being very anxious to get done with magnetizing quickly and get your cube assembled so you can try it out and use it. But this is when you're going to want to take your time and be very careful, especially because the placement can't be done like normal. You're going to want to be very careful about polarity and placement to make sure everything's done correctly. And then after your pieces have dried a little bit, I'd recommend checking the polarity just to make sure it's right. So my verdict for now is it works, and I like it. I like my other one a little bit more as of right now. It could just be because it's been broken in quite a bit more and I've solved it a lot more. So only time will tell if I actually like this one more. It's always pretty hard to determine how much you're going to like a puzzle just after it's been magnetized. So like I said, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. However, the magnetic click is stronger, so if you like stronger magnets, this may be the way to go. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'd like to thank everyone so very much for watching. Goodbye.